everyone, I'm just going to do some Sunday meal prep today. So I'm just going to first have a look in my fridge and have a wee think about what I can use up. So back here I have some leftovers for lunch sometime. I have a little bit of leftover chicken, so I might make that into a meal. I have some diced up capsicum here, so I'll use those. I have carrots and cabbage and apples, so I want to do something with all of that. Plan is to try to use up as much as I can in the fridge, using the pantry and the freezer as well, so that by next Wednesday when I go back to the supermarket I'll have kind of an empty fridge and make sure that nothing's going bad. So I have some asparagus here I want to use. Got some lettuce stuff. Might leave those just to have with another meal. I have some potatoes here, so I can use that. I'll keep the avocados for breakfast or for salad. This is just some fruit that we'll have throughout the week. I might use up this cheese, and I just have some celery from the garden here that I just needed to pick to help my celery plant, so I might use that. And nothing else is jumping out at me at the moment. So I do have these marinades left over, so I might use those. I also have some bananas that need to be used, so I might make some banana muffins. And I've just defrosted some chicken from the freezer, so I might use that with that marinade. If I look in my pantry to try and see what else I can use, I've got some eggs that I'll use up and some bacon with those muffins. I have some noodles here, so I think I might make with the chicken and the marinade, I'll make a noodle stir fry, and I can use up some of these vegetables as well. Lots of cans of things if I need it. Some bread. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. Now I have this big thing left over of panko breadcrumbs, and I know that I have some pork in the freezer. So I'm going to make some pork katsu this week, which is a Japanese dish. And then I know that I have this cabbage here that needs to be used up. So that goes along with that dish. So I can use this cabbage in the pork katsu and also in a stir fry. I'm going to use these peppers up in the stir fry, add some carrots. And then I'm thinking with some of that I'll also make some roast vegetables, and that might go along with that leftover chicken in the fridge. So I could make some roast carrots, roast potatoes, and I'll just have a look if I have any other vegetables to use up. So in here I have some onions and kumara, so I can roast the kumara as well. And then I think I might try and make another meal with this asparagus. I might use some kumara for that, and I'll have a look in my freezer to see what can go along with that. I actually see this frozen fish. That'll be easy to go along with those vegetables for a meal. And then I have this pork schnitzel left over. This was from a HelloFresh box that I didn't end up making that meal. So I will remember this week, later in the week, to take that out to defrost. Then I can make that pork katsu with that. So here's my other freezer in the garage. I'm just going to have a look to see if there's anything I want to use up in here as well. So I have quite a lot of cauliflower rice, which is good, trying to eat low carb. I just found some frozen zucchini in the freezer as well, so I'll use that maybe in a roast vegetable meal and maybe some in the stir fry. And then having another quick look, nothing else seems that useful right now, but just good to kind of have a look in your freezer a lot, just remember what's in here. My plan with these apples is to stew them. I could make some applesauce with that, which my daughter really likes, and I might make a paleo low carb apple crumble, which the whole family likes. And it can actually be an easy breakfast because it's basically just nuts and apples, so I'll try and do that as well. The first thing I'm going to do is get some vegetables onto roast, so I'll just wash those and then chop them up and get them roasting in the oven. And then I'm going to use my food processor over here. I'm going to use that to just shred things up really quickly, and it's a big time saver. I just chopped up the kumara and the potato over here, carrots and asparagus over here, and I'm just going to add some seasoning to both of them. So a little bit of salt. Whoa, that's way too much salt. Change the setting. It's a bit better. Some oregano. And here. Some thyme. And some garlic powder. Particularly on the asparagus. I like to be really garlicky. Now I'll just put a little bit of olive oil on each of them. And mix them around, and then I'll put them in the oven at fan bake 200 degrees. I'll check on them in half an hour, but I think the potatoes and kumara might need a bit longer than that. Here's where I'm up to. I've just chopped up the cabbage into these pieces. I've got some cheese and kumara chopped up, and I've chopped up some celery from the garden, and so that's going to go in my stir fry. Now I'm going to chop up all of this into my food processor. So first I'm going to do my kumara because I want to get that in the oven. I'm going to make kind of like a kumara hash brown, but not formed into little pieces. Here are my grated kumara to try and make a type of hash that is a little bit healthier. So I've just laid it all out. I've put some oregano, garlic powder, salt and cumin, probably about 2 teaspoons of each. And then I've just added some olive oil, mixed it all around. Tried to lay it out as flat as possible, but it is still quite thick. So we'll have to see how it goes. I might need to lay it out into 2 separate dishes later on, but I'll just let it cook like this for a while. Basically I want to get it really crispy, so we'll see how it goes. I'll put it in now. It'll probably need 40 minutes, so I'll just put it in. I've got my other vegetables roasting here at the moment, so I will add it to here, and then I will probably transfer a little bit later to the bottom rack. That's where things get crispiest. I'm going to grate up thinly slice my cabbage now in my food processor. So I've just changed it to be the slicer attachment, and I'm just going to shred up this cabbage, and then it will be good for the tonkatsu and the stir fry. Just did the same with the food processor with the cheese. So I've grated that as well. So I have a big container of cheese grated ready to just keep in the fridge, which will be handy for meals this week. I'm just peeling the apples now, and then I'll chop them up into bite-sized pieces, ready for my apple crumble after I've stewed them in a pan. So I'm just taking out some roast vegetables from the oven now. See how crispy that is. So I'll just let these roast vegetables cool, and then I'm just going to leave the potatoes and kumara in for a bit longer. They just need a bit longer to cook. Probably about another 10 minutes. So I'm going to get on to stewing my apples now. So I have them all in a pot. I'm just going to add a little bit of water, maybe 1/4 cup, and some cinnamon. I'm not measuring this because I love cinnamon, but that's probably a tablespoon. And then for sweetness, instead of using sugar, I'm just going to use probably about 1/2 tablespoon of maple syrup. Give that a stir, and then I will put a lid on and just let that cook on medium-high heat for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just to soften up. Now I'm just cutting up the chicken for the stir fry into little bite-sized pieces, and then I'll marinate it in some of that manuka, honey and soy marinade that I have left over. Mix that around and let that marinate for a little bit. Now I'm going to put in some fish into the oven while the oven is hot to bake for dinner tonight. That's going to go along with the kumara hash. So I'll let that cook as well. And now I'm just going to boil some udon and Hokkien noodles. So I'll just cook the chicken now for the stir fry. And as I'm cooking that, I'll just drain those noodles. They only needed about 3 minutes to cook. So while the stir fried chicken is cooking, I'm going to start on my crumble mixture. So this is a paleo crumble, so I started off with 1.5 cups of almond flour. As you'll see as I go along, I ended up adding extra just to get the right texture. Then I added 1 tablespoon of cinnamon and about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to add in probably about 75 grams of butter into little cubes. Then I decided to add some desiccated coconut, just for a nice flavour and a nice other texture. And then for sweetness, I'm just adding probably a tablespoon of maple syrup just to sweeten that crumble mixture. And then I'll give it a wee mix, and then I will crumble it up with my hands. And I'm just going to add almond flour just until it's got the right crumble texture. So here I am probably adding another 1/4 cup of almond flour, and I mix that around, see what texture that is. And then I'm adding about probably another 1/4 cup. So probably 2 cups in total, and I might have added a bit too much butter. But the end product was really yummy, so it worked out in the end. So there I've got my stewed apples, and I'm just crumbling the topping over top. And I'm just putting a little bit of the coconut on the top as well. So I'll pop that into the oven. So that probably baked for about 30-40 minutes at 190 degrees. Now I'm moving on to the banana chocolate chip muffins. These are also paleo. So I had about 4 pretty ripe bananas there, so I'm mashing them up. Now I'm adding 2 eggs and giving those a mix. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence. I usually just measure vanilla essence from the cap, and that's probably about 1 teaspoon. And then for sweetness, 1 tablespoon of maple syrup, or you could use honey. And that's all the sweetness that you need along with those bananas. They were pretty sweet muffins. Could have even used a little bit less maple syrup. Now I'm adding 2 cups of almond flour and 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. Now the recipe does call for some tapioca or arrowroot flour as well, but I didn't have any, so I think I was meant to add 1.5 cups of almond flour and 1/2 cup of tapioca flour, but I ended up just adding 2 cups of the almond flour and that worked out. So as you see, I just added 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 cup of butter, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and now I'm just mixing that all together. Now I'm just adding some dark chocolate chips. So those won't be paleo, they will probably have sugar in them, but I guess I'm thinking the fact that they're dark chocolate is a little bit better, just makes these super yummy. So I'm just using a 1/4 cup measuring cup to measure out the batter into 12 muffin tins, and that was the perfect amount. So as those are baking in the oven, I'm then going to go ahead with my stir fry. So I finished with all the chicken. I wiped out the pan and now I'm added a little bit of oil, and then I'm cooking the capsicum, the celery, and some frozen zucchini. So I ended up using that whole bag, which I think was a good amount of vegetables for the stir fry. Giving that a little bit of a mix, and I'm adding in the cabbage, shredded cabbage that I did in the food processor, and then the last packet of that honey soy marinade. So I let that cook for about 5 minutes on high, and then added it to a bowl, and then here I am. Here is all the food that I prepped on this Sunday. So it was almost dinner time by this point. So there's the fish, the hash, the kumara hash that I made, which is really crispy, and then the asparagus. So that's all going to be for dinner tonight. Here is this meal I will package up. So there's the leftover chicken, roasted potatoes and kumara and carrots. That will be lunches for this week. Here's the stir fry and the noodles. So I'll just have the stir fry by itself, but my husband and daughter will have those noodles. And then here's the banana chocolate chip muffins. They were really yummy. Here's the apple crumble. And yeah, that's all the food that I cooked. So this got us through a few days of the start of the week, and just snacks and breakfasts, and we had those banana muffins for breakfast as well, so that was really good. And then here's dinner tonight, the fish, hash and asparagus. Here is the packaged up food. So we have some leftover potatoes and kumara that I'll make with something. Here's the grated cheese. And here is some leftover of that kumara hash after dinner. Might have that with breakfast or with the eggs or something. And here is the stir fry, so we're going to have that tomorrow, so I just thought it was easier to keep it in that big bowl. Here are the muffins, here are the noodles, so I'll have that with the stir fry, and I think I'll just have the stir fry by itself with some cashew nuts for a low carb option. In the back is the shredded cabbage. Behind these two is those chicken Turkish bowl lunches. We'll have those for lunch tomorrow at work. And then here is the apple crumble. We didn't actually eat that tonight, we had some muffins instead, so we'll have that another night after dinner. Here is the roast chicken vegetables meal, and here's another one. So just the roast potatoes and kumara, carrots, chicken, and then there's a little bit of asparagus left over for dinner tonight. So we'll have that another night or for a lunch. Thanks for watching my food prep on this Sunday. Like and subscribe if you want to watch more. Thanks, bye.